After going back and forth between the greatest picks for UFC Fighter of the Year, Daniel Cormier finally chose Kamaru Usman. Though his first solid pick was Ciryl Gane, he happened to change his mind. What caused Daniel to pick Usman? Stay tuned to find out more about it and other interesting UFC news. Daniel Cormier picks Ciryl Gane as UFC Fighter of the Year. The world of MMA is filled with talented fighters with great skills and exceptional fighting styles. After evaluating his choices in the fights throughout 2021, he announced Ciryl Gane as the best pick. What was his reason for doing so? Cormier said that he was thoroughly impressed by how the French fighter beat Alexander Volkov and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Not only this, but Gane won the interim championship by fighting against the legendary Francis Ngannou. What other accomplishments does the 31-year-old fighter have to his name? The talented fighter possesses the skill of having a unique fighting style. Don't know what it is? Don't worry, we'll tell you. Gane has garnered appreciation for being one of the few heavyweights that relies on kicks, swift movements, and range control rather than his strength during his fights. We agree that Gane's qualities are worth the praise. Cyryl's professional debut in MMA took place in 2018, and it didn't take long for the heavyweight fighter to make a name out of himself. Keeping all these things in mind, Daniel Cormier decided that Ciryl Gane deserved the title of UFC Fighter of the Year. However, it turns out that Cormier wasn't as sure as he thought he was. We are shocked to inform you that the former UFC fighter changed his decision from Ciryl Gane to Kamaru Usman in the end. Daniel Cormier explains why he chose Kamaru Usman instead. Cormier recently announced the change in his decision for UFC Fighter of the Year on ESPN. If he was so sure Ciryl Gane was the one, why did he change it? Cormier revealed that after picking Gane, he began to ponder over other names that were worthy of the Fighter of the Year title. One of the names that shined through was Kamaru Usman. To justify his choice, Cormier elaborated that champions as dominating as Usman are rare in the UFC. We wholeheartedly agree. Daniel continued to gush about how excellent Kamaru has been in the cage, praising how he managed to knock out Gilbert Burns in 2 rounds. Usman impressively won against Jorge Masvidal in the same way too. While fighting against Colby Covington, Usman defended the belt thrice and boosted his popularity and visibility to a great extent. Usman debuted in the Ultimate Fighting Championship in 2016 and holds a grand MMA record of 20 wins and 1 loss. Daniel Cormier wants Usman to keep dominating the MMA world and give the other fighters tough competition when they step into the cage. Usman currently ranks number 1 in the UFC men's pound-for-pound rankings. Cormier unapologetically announced the change in his decision and crowned Kamaru Usman as the UFC Fighter of the Year. Let's be real, the Nigerian Nightmare indeed had a fantastic year in the cage and deserves all the praise and recognition he can get. However, Cormier could still have a change of heart and pick someone else. Cormier sings the praises of UFC fighter Charles Oliveira. While announcing Kamaru Usman as his pick for UFC Fighter of the Year, Cormier included Charles Oliveira on the list of praiseworthy contenders too. Cormier praised Oliveira's growth as a fighter and said that he's not a quitter anymore. He also added that whoever thinks Oliveira isn't an absolute killer in the cage has lost their minds. Cormier emphasized that people need to let the old image of Charles Oliveira go and appreciate all the things he has improved on. The Brazilian Superman has solidified himself as the current UFC lightweight champion. Daniel Cormier believes that future opponents of the fighter should look out for him. He believes that Oliveira deserves to be included in the list of one of the best male fighters of 2021 for defeating Dustin Poirier, and the guy turns into Superman once he steps into the cage. The length of the debate of deciding the best UFC Fighter of the Year just shows how widely loved and supported the sport is. We think it's great that icons like Daniel Cormier have a good range of fighters to select honorable names from. All names aside, Cormier firmly believes Kamaru Usman deserves the UFC Fighter of the Year award for 2021. Now that we've established who the UFC Fighter of the Year is, let's move on to explore what's new in the MMA world. Dustin Poirier voices regrets over losing against Charles Oliveira. Dustin fought against Charles at UFC 269 for the title of becoming lightweight champion. It is to be noted that this was Poirier's second chance to fulfill his dream of obtaining this goal. The Diamond stepped into the cage with Charles having a great deal of confidence and expected to end the night by securing the lightweight title. Unfortunately, in the 3rd round of the fight, Oliveira defeated Poirier with a great rear naked choke. Looking back at the events of the night, Dustin pointed out many of his mistakes and regrets. What were they? The Louisianan champion's biggest regret was not making use of his extraordinary grappling skills. What more did he have to say? Dustin believes that he could have had more of a chance to win if he used his jiu-jitsu skills on Oliveira when he stumbled to the ground in the 1st round. He further highlighted his mistake by explaining that he shouldn't have given his opponent the chance to recover from the blow. In an appearance on Teddy Atlas's podcast, Poirier revealed the strategy in mind while he was in the cage with Charles Oliveira. What did the fighter have to say? Dustin narrated that when Charles fell in the cage, he didn't want to engage in grappling with him. His priority was towards tackling his strong rival by kickboxing and not actively engaging. Poirier concluded that by saying he should have engaged and threatened Charles by carrying out the full use of his jiu-jitsu skills. Jake Paul challenges UFC president to pay fighters fairly. Jake Paul started 2022 with a daring New Year's resolution. The problem child Child asked UFC President Dana White to start paying fighters fairly and properly. The Ultimate Fighting Championship president and Paul have been arguing back and forth about their differences. According to White, Paul's pay-per-view numbers against other fighters were way lower. Jake's reaction to this statement was to threaten the UFC president by saying he will punch him in the head. On January 2nd, 2022, Jake tweeted a screenshot of his notes where he had written a few terms and conditions he believed Dana White should consider for the following year. Paul demanded that all UFC fighters should come forward to ask for $50,000 per fight, for fighters to receive 50% of UFC's annual revenues, and cover long-term health care for all UFC alums. Jake Paul promised to retire if White implemented these conditions by March 2022. How did the UFC president respond to these demands? Dana White slammed the boxer in return by saying that Paul's current manager used to be an accountant for him. White also believes that there's no way Jake drafted those conditions all on his own. The UFC president suggested that if Paul and his manager think he's operating things wrongly, they should step into the business and give it a try. However, the truth is, Paul and Badarian already started most valuable promotions, and it's becoming a threat. We're intrigued to see what goes down between Paul and White next. Dana White shows support for Jorge Masvidal during a feud with Jake Paul. Dana White and Jake Paul have been at each other's necks over arguments about pay-per-views and healthcare facilities provided by the UFC. The UFC president pointed out that Jake Paul was flopping as compared to other big names like Jorge Masvidal to secure more pay-per-view points. White also called Masvidal a massive star after he lost a match to the legend Kamaru Usman and used his resurgence as an admirable example because he secured 1.5 million pay-per-view buys at the UFC 251. Masvidal appreciated the fact that White acknowledged his effort and relevance in the sport. Furthermore, Jorge thanked White in a tweet for finally considering his hard work, adding a super shady remark about how it took him 4 years to do it with hashtag super necessary. The Game Bread didn't elaborate, but we think that the tweet was pretty self-explanatory. This incident brought to light the fact that the fighter had never felt valued by White during his long tenure. What other notable achievements did Masvidal have to his name? The American fighter earned the title of Knockout of the Year in 2019, as he had the fastest KO in UFC history. It should also be highlighted that he managed to win the BMF belt against Nate Diaz too. We think that Dana White should be more vocal about supporting UFC fighters that carry the sport with their talent, skill, and hard work. It's better to show appreciation for accomplishments when they are new, as it can help fighters be more motivated and confident the next time they step into any cage. And that's a wrap for this video. We hope you enjoyed it. Do you think Kamaru Usman deserves to be the UFC Fighter of the Year? Do you think Jake Paul's rival business will outdo Dana White's accomplishments? Let us know in the comments below. And thanks for watching.